Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app is presented by Progressive Insurance. And last year, over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call or click today and find out if you could save. Of course, all guests appear on the Shell Penzo Performance Line. You can tweet me on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, at ESPN Radio, at Clinton Yates. The bad guys are back. Get your tweets on right now. The guys are out trying to get their lives saved. We all know Irma is trying to take over the southern part of this nation, has already wiped out a couple different places on this map. So we're chasing to see if Stugotz or Dan will let us know what they're doing. But in the meantime, your man Clinton Yates is in the building. You better deal with it. You know the rules. If you come incorrect in my mentions, I will embarrass you in front of your friends and your family, and I will not apologize. That said, it's just me today. And since I'm a big boy and can deal with your nonsense, please do keep the how much you hate me tweets rolling, and I got to do something for these 3 hours, and there's only one football game today. Speaking of, there's a football game today. I just mentioned that. Did you hear that? Good. We're going to work on listening comprehension today, kiddos. So let's follow along. The Chiefs play the Pats in an interesting Thursday night game. A game that you could say, if you actually like football, you might actually care about. A game that has some level of, I don't know, importance on the AFC if you actually believe there are teams that can compete with the Patriots. Do I believe that? I don't know. They got a guy by the name of Tom Brady. They don't have a guy by the name of Julian Edelman anymore. They do have a guy by the name of Danny Amendola. And because that offense just plugs and plays like so many Apple products that you buy for no reason, just because you want to have them, there are people who thought that this was going to be one of the most explosive offenses in the history of the NFL this year. I'm not necessarily one of those people. But there are some question marks with the Chiefs. Alex Smith, is this the year that he's the guy? What are they going to do with him as far as the rest of his career going forward? But if you've come to hear me talk NFL football, you've come to the wrong show. Number one, because it's the Dan Le Batard Show. And number two, because I don't really care that much about football. Tweets are coming in already. I hope you get whipped out by Irma at Clinton Yates. That's not a good tweet. Rooting for ill will amongst people is not a good thing. But here's the deal. We got to talk about Thursday Night Football and the abomination that it is. All football isn't good football. Some of y'all don't seem to understand this. And the thing that the NFL did well for so long was that they monopolized one day of the week. You've seen the movie Concussion. I think it's my man Paul Giamatti who plays whatever character says that. The NFL owns an entire day of the week. That's true. It's on Sunday. They own part of it. Some of y'all like to hang out in church on Sunday and pray to God and so forth and have fellowship and community. I understand that. Some of us get that through football. But, you know, there's Monday Night Football, obviously, which is a different brand in itself. But Thursday has introduced an interesting element that I don't necessarily love for two reasons. Number one, Thursday is sort of an awkward day of the week because I used to like Thursday college football. You know, I have for whatever reason, I have many memories of Louisville playing Florida State on Thursday nights. Maybe there was one of those games. Maybe there were two. Maybe Louisville beat them in one they probably weren't supposed to, but I feel like I have ACC Thursday Night Football memories on my brain. Those may or may not be real. But secondarily is that it messes up the balance of NFL football. The short weeks, that stuff matters eventually over time. And there's a reason why all those games were so bad last year. Because Thursday Night Football became that thing that you did because you sort of had to, and you didn't want to miss out on the possibility that you just biffed a game that you could have easily watched because you didn't have anything else going on, simply because it was on a Thursday. I'm going to read from one of my homegirls' articles. Her name is Charlotte Wilder. If you don't know her, you should check her out. She writes for SB Nation. And last year she wrote something that I thought was very applicable. Headline, congratulations, you just survived the season of Thursday Night Football. Deck, it wasn't pretty, but there were some memorable moments. Now look, first of all, I knew that Thursday Night Football, was going to be a problem last year when that whole uniform thing became a situation. Because if you have to have a uniform gimmick in order to sell an NFL football game, you've already got a problem. It's like going to a theme party. Theme parties are cool, but theme parties are for people who don't actually know how to throw parties. Like if it's not Halloween or if it's not Christmas, your theme party is just a lame excuse for you to fly out to flesh out some weird fantasy you have that may or may not be awkward in front of all your friends, which is fine. I like a good theme party. I'm trying to think of the last good theme party I went to. But very rarely is the juice worth the squeeze on a theme party. So that aside, you got this color rush situation where all the teams look borderline god-awful. I mean, there were so few of these that were actually executed well. The Vikings come to mind. The Giants were pretty good with the all-white blickies. But I can't even think of any of the color rush joints that were actually worth looking at. So off the top, you've got a sort of a bizarre odd night of the week, at least as far as NFL is concerned. You've got a bad uniform situation. And you've got teams on short weeks that have less prep. So we're going to go through some of these games. Because I don't really remember most of these games because I didn't watch a whole lot of them. Week 1, Broncos-Panthers. Broncos won 21-20. You might remember that because Cam Newton got hit a bunch of times in the head and nothing was called. That was weird. Week 2, Jets. The Jets beat the Bills 37-31. The year before that, colorblind people couldn't tell the two teams apart because of their color block situation. Week 3, the Pats smoked the Texans 27-0. Good one, guys. Week 4, the Bengals. The Bengals beat the Dolphins 22-7. Non-game. Week 5, Cards, Niners 33-21. I mean, you can tell already how boring this is. We're at week 5. Nothing of note has happened. Week 6, Chargers, Bronx 21-13. We're halfway through. Sort of. Week 7, Packers beat the Bears 36-10. Another non-game. But Cutler didn't even play. Which gets me back to something else I want to talk about, which is my fantasy team. That's a joke. Don't ever talk to about your fantasy team to anybody who doesn't know yours in the league. That's rule 1. Rule 2, though, is the same as rule 1. It's like Fight Club. Week 8, Titans beat the Jags 36-22. Excuse me. There will be a reasonable amount of coughing, and I have no cough button here, so we're just going to have to deal with that. Week 9, Falcons put up 43 on the Bucs and won 43-28. Week 10, the Ravens beat the Browns 28-7. I sort of remember this game, but I sort of don't. It shows you everything you need to know. Week 11, Panthers 23, Saints 20. It's a division game. Pretty good game. And we'll get to the rest of these later in the show. The point is this. You've actually got a decent amount of good football tonight between the Chiefs and the Patriots. The Patriots. I'm going to start calling the Patriots from here on out. So we might want to watch the game tonight.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you are confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you the same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple. allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you are getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. That's rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, Stugotz, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Right now, on the Shell Pinto Performance Line, Weather Channel reporter and fitness enthusiast Jim Cantore. Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
I'm all right. I got to say that I get, just as a person that lives in the East Coast who doesn't get the usual amount of what I'll call extreme weather circumstances and lives in a pretty four seasons climate, I don't necessarily know always how to process this sort of stuff. So we're coming off of Harvey. We're moving right into Irma. If you're in the part of the country that's affected by this, how do you deal in terms of how you prepare in a general way for your daily life for this time of year?
Well, daily life as it's known, if this thing comes ashore, is going to be completely changed for a lot of people. As a matter of fact, even before it comes ashore, it's completely changed. So, instead of the normal routine, getting up, going to Starbucks, going to work, you're getting up, you're writing down a list of things that you need to prepare for a hurricane, whether that means you're sheltering in place or evacuating if asked to by the Weather Service. It's just a whole different world. And obviously, if you look at what's going on down in Florida right now, it's kind of it's like the Wild Wild West down there. I mean, everybody's trying to get their supplies. They're trying to get gas. They're trying to get out of harm's way in the evacuation zones. Because, this is potentially the biggest threat for South Florida since Andrew. And it's at least twice as big in terms of the size.
You're referring to Hurricane Andrew there. For those listeners who are younger listeners who don't know or remember what that's about, can you please describe sort of what the
Hurricane Andrew, 25 years ago, Cat 5, coming in late August to Homestead, Florida, with just lunar landscape type damage where it looks like a bomb went off. Now, I can't tell you if this is going to be a Cat 4 or 5, but it certainly has a chance of being. And whether all the difference in the world where this thing comes ashore. If it comes ashore in Homestead, then that means Miami is in harm's way. If it comes, and everybody on the northern side of that storm is going to get a tremendous amount of destructive wind potential. There are going to be storm surge components. And then if this thing scoots up the coast, there could be damage even on the west side of the state because of the size. There could be damage in Miami and Orlando, possibly Jacksonville, possibly, Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina. So it's not just Florida's storm. It's not just a coastal event. It's an inland event as well.
We're talking with Jim Cantore of the Weather Channel here on the Shell Pinto Performance Line. Clinton Yates filling in for Dan Le Batard. Where are you now?
The good thing is that, the NFL thought well enough, obviously, of this situation to move the game with the Dolphins. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Plus, college football has been moved up on Saturday in Florida. So, they're obviously looking at this and the potential and also what's going on in other people's worlds. So
let me ask you this, though.
To get people out of harm's way is huge.
Is it possible that, obviously it's possible, but, are they expecting that this is going to be more than sort of a 1 week removal? Look, taking a game out of Miami for a Sunday is one thing, but if this sounds as bad as I think it does, there's going to be ramifications here beyond just week 1 of the NFL season.
That's certainly a worst case scenario, yes.
Where are you now?
In terms of nailing exactly where the center goes right now, we can't do that. It's not within our capabilities as meteorologists. All we can do is present you with a scenario, potentially the worst case scenario, and tell you that's what we need you to prepare for.
Where are you now? Where are you headed?
If you don't, you could die. I'm in Atlanta, but I will be heading to South Florida this afternoon because to me, some of the worst potential in terms of damaging wind, if this storm landfalls, is going to be in South Florida.
All right. Well, this is the last thing I'll ask you.
Sorry, man. Don't mean to bring the show down here.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm actually glad, but that you actually have been sobering about this because I think a lot of people sort of this is why I was saying this in terms of where I am. you see one piece of hurricane coverage, you've seen 1,000 in people's minds. But connecting that to what it means for the on-the-ground life and how that affects not just one spot situation in terms of a storm, but the cumulative effect of living in a place like this is sort of what I was wondering about. And it sounds like from your standpoint, not just from a work standpoint, but from a basic human standpoint, that's not easy as it builds up over the years. No.
Life, as let's say many people are doing it today, not today necessarily, but let's say 2 days ago, it has already changed. And it's going to change for the foreseeable future with this thing. And even if it comes, when it comes ashore, it's going to change for several days, maybe weeks after that. I mean, these things are the big bad ones are incredibly disrupting to life, and they're disruptive for, in this case, the potential for millions of people.
All right, he's Jim Cantore. He's the Weather Channel reporter. Stay safe out there, man.
Thank you.
He brought up an interesting point about how the NFL moved the game, and it was obviously the right decision to make. It was not quite a tricky one, but they moved it to Week 11, which is when both teams had a bye week. And if you might have seen me on Around the Horn yesterday, ding, I was actually arguing a different point, which is that I thought that the NFL could have moved this game to a different location instead of to a different week. Now, understand me on this. A lot of what people said was, well, people are more concerned about getting their families together and sort of being safe in the storm, whatever they have to do. And I understand that. Like, I get that. I'm not implying that that's somehow the wrong priority. But what I was saying is that for a league that makes so much money, I would have thought that they might have been able, not might have been able to, because I'm not trying to imply that this is something you could do with the snap of a finger, but you've got teams that are in places that get affected by the natural disasters all the time. It would have seemed to me that maybe the NFL had contingency plans for this sort of thing. Yes, to literally get everybody from their two teams and their families the heck out of Dodge so they could get a football game played. You make billions of dollars for a reason. And I'm not saying that the football should be the priority in the situation. That's not my point. That's not how I feel. That's not how I argue. But if I actually worked for the NFL and I was an actual owner in this league, I might be a little bit more concerned about moving one game and moving everybody involved than I would be with the potential effects of having a team play 16 games in a row from a competitive balance standpoint. Never mind the player safety standpoint. So don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say here. I'm not implying that they should have just had everybody go play a game just so they could leave their families to the effects of the storm. I'm saying it would seem to me that a company making that kind of billions of dollars every year could find a way to get everybody out and play that game in a safer place so that the game goes on and you don't have to find yourself in a situation where one team has or two teams have no bye week for an entire season. That's just me. If you're making all that money, what are you spending it on if it doesn't come down to player safety and family safety overall?
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
And Batard show with Stugotz on ESPN Radio, and the ESPN app is presented by Progressive Insurance. And all guests are on the Shell Pinto Performance Line. You want to formulate a coherent thought in an elementary school insult, hit me up on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, at ESPN Radio, at Clayton Yates. Get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold. That's because all guests on the Batard show appear via the Shell Pinto Performance Line. And now for your Sports Center update. 4 Americans are in the Women's U.S. Open semifinals for the first time since 1981. Coverage of those matches starts at 7 Eastern on ESPN. Switching to the gridiron, the NFL season starts tonight with the Chiefs and the Patriots. New England is defending their improbable Super Bowl win from last season over the Falcons, if you forgot that. And lastly, the Mystics won last night, 86-76, over the Dallas Wings. I know, because I was there. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPNRadio.com, or ESPN Radio all throughout the day. Joining us right now, my friend, my coworker, former NFL football player, Domonique Foxworth. How are you, Domonique?
I'm good. We are coworkers, but you did not come into the office today, and that is unfortunate because I brought donuts.
Donuts.
You're lost, Mr. Yates.
Somebody better have my donuts. That's like my favorite thing that Delonte West ever said. What'd you get?
Krispy Kreme, fresh off the conveyor belt. 2 dozen.
Nice.
How dare you? What else?
Very well. Well, I'm sorry I missed that, but I'm sitting on my couch doing this radio show, so there's that.
That is a little bit more fun, I guess.
Yeah, in some ways. So, Michael Bennett, look, yesterday when I first saw not only the letter but the video, I had 2 thoughts, Domonique. Number one was that what he was describing did not sound particularly out of the ordinary, and I was not sort of surface level shocked by what that situation involved. And number two, when I saw the video, I was kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, that seems to me like what he described. And yes, although terrifying, I was actually kind of relieved that it didn't end in something a little bit more violent like we're used to seeing. What were your initial thoughts, Fox?
Yeah, I don't think I was surprised. And I was talking about this a bunch yesterday, and I said that I don't think that very many black people were surprised. But I feel like we're at a point in society where I don't think anybody is or should be surprised. The problem with the response that I've kind of been pushing back on is this idea of bad apples. And first, to be clear, like, we don't have all the facts. Things could be different, but I'm going to choose to believe Michael Bennett's account until proven otherwise. So I think the difficult thing that I've been pushing back against is this bad apples thing, where people are saying, like, well, there are just some bad apples in the police force. And I'm not here to kind of besmirch all police. I just think that it's not about bad apples. It's about our perception in society. And it's something that pervades, like, this idea of African Americans as threatening and black men as threatening and violent and almost subhuman. And shout out Dred Scott. That is something that pervades our society and impacts all of us. So I just am pushing back against that and kind of saying that we should not strive to be colorblind. Like, we need to accept that we have prejudices and fight to not let them influence our decision. Because, I mean, it's true. Like, when I see people, as much as I don't want to admit it, I see people without knowing them. I make assumptions about them, and I try to be aware of them and try to force them not to have any influence on the decisions I make or the way that I treat them.
Right, which is fine, because you're a dude walking around on the street. You're not a guy who's been vested with authority and carrying a gun. That's where that works. By the way, yes, shout out Dred Scott, 3/5. You know where Dred Scott's buried, Domonique?
I don't.
Ferguson, Missouri. That is an actual fact. So
wow.
The other thing about that video is if you watch it and sort of chalk talk it, there's one point where the guy pulls his gun out, the other guy who's not holding him, and he's like leaning over the railing, sort of pointing it at him. And a lot of the things I read said, well, the police stopped him because there was a report of a mass shooting situation and he was running away, he being Bennett. Now, if that's the description and that is what's going on, to me, this is a very obvious mesh point, Domonique, of where bias meets enforcement. Because to me, if you say there was an active shooter situation, everybody would be running away, because that's what you do when you hear of such a thing. That is an obvious tell on yourself situation about singling somebody out. If you say, well, he was running away because there was an active shooter situation, we ended up putting him on the ground. Am I wrong on this?
I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
I'm confused.
You know what I'm saying?
But I do want to call out how, as much as you talk trash about football, you are obviously ready for football season, because you went with chalk talk, you went with mesh point, like you are blending all these. That's one of my favorite things to do with you, is when we're walking around D.C., is to use football analogies for everything that we're talking about.
All day.
I do remember one time we were headed to lunch, and the reservation was somewhere a little, where we wanted to go was a little further away, and you hit us with, why don't we just hit this check down real quick and go to this sandwich spot. And I never forgot that. I really appreciate that. And I use it regularly when my friends are talking about doing something that might take a little too long. Man, I don't know about that 2-hour movie. Let's hit this check down and watch an episode of Ozarks instead.
I'm here for it, man, because the thing is that as much as I don't care for the game in that regard, first of all, I do like football. I just don't love football. But the terminology is incredible. You can't deny that. You know what I'm saying? There's so much verbiage around the game. You got to use it in everyday life.
You're always here for the bits. And,
oh, yeah.
And no matter how serious the topic is, you are going to work in a mesh point, which I fully respect and appreciate.
That said, though, what do you do if you see an active shooter?
Yeah, I mean, I run. I mean, I run and I try to get as far away from it as possible. Like I don't know how it all looked, but I suspect that if there was a shot, there were probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people running. And to pick out one person and throw him on the ground and aim a gun at him just seems unreasonable. So,
Right.
I mean, I try to show as much respect as I can to police. Like, it's a hard job, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. And it's not something I want to do. I appreciate what they do, but that doesn't mean that they're above criticism. And I don't know the proper protocol, but I would assume that if there's an active shooter, trying to make everybody lay on the ground is the opposite of what you want to do.
He's Domonique Foxworth. He writes for The Undefeated, and he's an ESPN radio host appearing on the Shell Pinto Performance Line. I'm Clinton Yates, filling in for Dan and Stugotz here on ESPN Radio. You also host the Nickel Package podcast. How's that going?
It's going well. We had another episode come out today, so we're one of 5 hosts. Mina and I host it together on Thursdays. She's the only woman. I'm the only man of color, so we call it Minority Thursdays.
Nice.
So it came out today. It was our second episode, and what we do is kind of tackle big football questions and a couple of small 3-step questions, if you will. So we're 2 episodes in, and it's really fun and funny and informative. So we do away with a lot of the cliches and myths that I know the Levitard audience is annoyed by, and we give you these real facts combined with jokes. So it's a fun show.
All right. So what do you think about this Thursday Night Football situation? I talked in the break. I crapped on everybody's parade and reminded them of how bad Thursday Night Football games were last year. People were angry at me about that because they wanted them fixed. But what do you think about Thursday night, not just tonight, but on the season?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think I can add anything new to it. Thursday night games have not historically been great, but the kickoff is normally good because everyone is so starved for football, and you have 2 really good playoff caliber, if not championship caliber teams. So I don't think tonight's going to disappoint, but don't get your hopes up for Thursday nights going forward. That will be unfortunate. Get those expectations nice and low, so maybe you'll be surprised and pleased.
All right, last thing I'll ask you. Actually, sidebar, did you ever play a game on a Thursday?
Yeah, played a few Thursday night games, including a Thanksgiving game in Dallas when I was with the Broncos. Played a couple other just regular run-of-the-mill Thursday night games, and they suck and hurt as a player, which is why many of the Thursday night games are not great. They're not great to watch because the players have not fully recovered. Yeah, so, and I mean, I know you're doing the Miami-based show, even though you're not in Miami. What those players are going to have to go through because this game is going to be canceled. There's 16 straight weeks without a bye. Like, that is, I don't know. I've never done it, and it seems we would complain if our bye was too late in the season or too early in the season because we might have to do 10 or so games in a row. Doing 16 in a row is going to hurt their chances of having a successful season. So it's unfortunate, but you have to be safe when it comes to these type of big, scary storms like Irma.
Last thing I'll ask you. You see your boy on TV yesterday?
Oh, yeah. You got your first shot on Around the Horn. I was expecting a debut W, though. I have to say I was a little disappointed.
Well, I'm not going to reveal the behind the scenes, but what's most important here is that I got on before one Stugotz. So that's a win for Yates. Just pointing that out. Make sure you remind everybody of that next time you're on this show and I'm not here.
You got it. I'll definitely let him know, and that is going to really piss him off. He's going to pretend and make a joke about it and act like it's no big deal, play it off, but actually deep in his soul, he is furious.
He's Domonique Foxworth. He's my homie. He's my friend, and he writes with me at The Undefeated. And we used to host the Morning Roast, but that show is gone forever, never to be heard from again.
We're going to find a way to rekindle it. We'll find somebody who's out and take over that show for a day or two.
AKA tune in on Monday. Thanks, Fox.
All right, bro.
All right, y'all, you know what time it is. The time when I validate your passive listening by reading your weak-minded tweets on the air. At Batard Show, at Clinton Yates. Immediately pretentious and begging for hate tweets, so I'll feed into it. You're bad radio, dude. Thank you. You're still listening. At Clinton Yates. Yay, I'm happy you took the wheel today. I don't even drive. I don't even have a car. I do drive. I just don't have a car. At Clinton Yates. Hurricane Irma is a real jerk because now I have to listen to this clown again talk about a real natural disaster. Very sensitive, Playboy. At Clinton Yates, just for kicks and content, I love to hate you and Cardi B. Music sucks. You get the show, my friend. Thank you for that. At Clinton Yates, so much yes, this is a true man of the people.
unlike Dan and his crew of misfits. That's not true. I am a man of the people, but that is not unlike Dan and his misfits. At Clinton Yates, you're right. Louisville beat FSU in a hurricane on a Thursday night years back. Thank you. I believe I had that even if I didn't fact check that tweet at all. At Le Batard Show, tuning in and hearing Clinton Yates is such a letdown. Thought the same thing when I clicked your AV. At Clinton Yates, picked up the slack for Le Batard Show. Got to admit, you're getting to that least worst status for guest host. Appreciate that. I'm on one of the rejoins now, so that means I'm moving up in the world. At Clinton Yates, all football is good football. Don't try to brainwash us just because you don't like football, you weirdo. Okay. Nothing weird about not liking football. At Clinton Yates, Thursday night definitely used to and still should belong to college football. Remember some big Thursday night Maryland games. I believe Domonique Foxworth, who just joined us, had a pick six in one of those games. Maybe it was a fumble touchdown. We'll have to get on that and ask him. I should have asked him about that at the time. At Clinton Yates, you just said you don't like football that much. How about you quit bashing the game since your option is biased heavy? Number one, I think you meant to write opinion. And number two, I don't think you really understand what bias is. You might want to look that up and understand it a little better. At Clinton Yates, I don't hate you. I just hate how much I say kiddos after listening to you several times over the last few weeks. Sorry about that. But the catchphrase is the catchphrase. The brand is strong. That means things are going well. At Clinton Yates, this is the Le Batard Show. Where's the race talk? Race talk. Race talk. Baiting time. Excellent. So you got the jingle, but you didn't get the race talk just yet. Well, you did get it a little bit with Domonique. At Clinton Yates, don't take this personally. You can't do the show. You don't have it. Your show is nothing like Dan's. At ESPN, fix this. Correct on one. Number two, I don't disagree with you. I do my show. They do their show. I try to blend both styles. You, however, are a good listener. At Clinton Yates, the first 10 minutes have been Cat 5 terrible. I don't disagree with that necessarily. At Clinton Yates, you sound like Jadakiss the rapper. Aha! That's what he does. At Clinton Yates, hoping you guys make it out safe because Clinton Yates is not worth the power used by my car battery to run my radio. Appreciate that. At Clinton Yates, get it together, bro. You sound like a bullfrog. This is how I sound. Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. I never understood a single word he said, but he helped me drink his wine. Go look that up. It's on the Big Chill soundtrack. At Clinton Yates, I like you, but really, football is back and you open the segment by raining on our parade about the Thursday product. You don't get the show. Clearly, that's what I'm going to do. You don't get the show. Thank you very much. At Clinton Yates, the dumpster fire that is this first segment has to be put out. Thursday Night Football is more relevant than you. Mind you, Famalam, you have 0 followers, and you don't even have an AV. At Clinton Yates, can you go full ESPN heel and give us some comprehensive Mystics discussion on the radio today? Hashtag for the culture. Well, yes, I can. I went to see my Sticks play last night. Elena Deladon played. Christy Tolliver played as well. Put up some big numbers. They beat the Dallas Wings. Gave up like a 15-2 run in the third that had me a little nervous in my seat. If you don't know, these first rounds of the WNBA playoffs are one-game elimination, bad boys. This might be time for me to tell you that I think the NBA playoffs should go to a similar format where you go 1, 3, 5, and 7 for the finals. That's in my goofy world of just changing all sports the way I wanted it to. But yeah, things were getting a little chippy. Late in the game, there was almost a fight. Somebody got tossed. My Sticks are making that championship run, y'all. I'm telling you. They're going to bring a ring back to D.C. They'll be the first team to do it, and I don't know